Thank you. I'm Ashley Bauman. I'm president of Bauman Consulting Group, which is a public and social sector consulting firm. And I'm also the author of Pathways to Change, Individual Casework Interventions for Criminal Justice Involved Women. With me is Tira Hubbard. She's the program manager for Jackson County Community Justice in Medford, Oregon. And we're going to share with you a little bit about the Pathways to Change model and the impact that we're seeing it have on justice involved women across the state of Oregon, as well as the many other stakeholders in the state of Oregon. So let's start by first just kind of talking about the idea of Pathways to Change. So it came from the concept of core correctional practices, or CCP. And there's an extensive body of research that demonstrates CCP's effectiveness in reducing recidivism. However, when looking at this research, very few of those studies examined whether the principles apply to women specifically, and most samples that incorporate women only have about 5 to 15% of their samples including women. Skills that are taught in those traditional interventions, which are grounded in CCP, may not focus on issues that women specifically face, or they might need to be readjusted to reflect women's experiences. So what we know is that women may face issues related to their children, like high levels of parental stress, domestic violence, relationship dysfunction, emotional regulation concerns, or coping skills that they lack. Emotions and those somatic experiences can take on a greater role in women's recovery. So this may be important for staff to know skills related to brain-body regulation or communication, techniques like mindfulness or stress reduction. There may also be a need to integrate relational and boundary issues. Women need help identifying relationships that are troublesome to their success. They might need assistance overcoming guilt related to losing their children, or identifying how to reintegrate their children into their lives, or even how to trust others. They also need to examine ways of how not to violate boundaries with others and how not to let others violate their boundaries. Additionally, experiences with trauma can complicate the traditional use of authority and boundary issues. A lot of the experiences women have are a kind of a universal experience with trauma, and that can also impact the delivery of sanctions and incentives. And ultimately, core correctional practices tend to traditionally lack an emphasis on client strengths. So gender responsive core correctional practices have been developing over the years. The early research on these specifically related to the women offender case management model have demonstrated reductions in risk factors, increases in protective or resiliency factors, reduced recidivism, which has included fewer technical violations and new arrests, and also has been demonstrating support for the risk principle. So that led us to the development of Pathways to Change, which incorporates the principles of effective intervention, relies on a core correctional practice model, while also integrating gender responsiveness and trauma-informed approaches. So it's designed specifically for justice-involved women, and our preliminary research on this is demonstrating several positive outcomes. So let me first explain what Pathways to Change is. It's a structured case management model centered around what we call the 4 Rs, which are relating, reporting, regrouping, and reinforcing. And the core materials are made up of a collection of 52 total worksheets, 22 core, 15 specialty, and 17 skills. Our core worksheets are designed to apply to any risk or need in the woman's life, and they allow for a great deal of flexibility when administering them because they can be used in many different ways. An example of this is one of our strengths worksheets called What's in Your Pack, which is designed to identify interpersonal strengths or internal strengths rather that the women possess, which can help them be successful in the community. The specialty worksheets have more special applications to them. An example of these, for example, is the relationship worksheet, where clients have the ability to examine interpersonal relationships in their lives and identify ways that they can proceed accordingly. We also have skills worksheets. There are 17 of these that address a wide range of skill deficits that a woman may experience in her life. One example here are criminal justice success skills. These are the skills that women will need to successfully navigate criminal justice involvement. And the worksheets all work in tandem as a way to uniquely apply to each woman. So we can kind of pick and choose and customize an approach for each individual woman as she goes through the process.
So in the state of Oregon, we adopted the Women's Risk Need Assessment, WRNA, about 5 years ago. Following that, we worked with Bauman Consulting to adopt pathways. First in our institution and then in community corrections. For continuity of care, we wanted justice-involved women to have access to pathways both while in the institution as well as in the community. In Jackson County, we started pathways implementation through focused office visits on 2 gender-responsive caseloads that included 110 women. Prior to pathways, we were already case planning with women during our office visits, but found that when we got to goal setting and cognitive behavioral interventions, the gender-neutral CBIs available did not address the needs identified in the WRNA. Once we adopted pathways, we printed them all and created individual folders for each woman. Although they don't have to be used that way, we wanted something visual and tangible to make it more appealing for the women. Pathways are colorful and based on this visual theme of hiking a path out of the system. The women really relate to it and have expressed that Pathways worksheets feel relevant to their actual risks and needs. We've had such success, we've added another full-time and 2 part-time gender-responsive POs to make sure all of our women get these resources. Part of that is utilizing positive reinforcements, and we've incorporated pathways into that model. When women complete a pathways worksheet or make progress on their goals, we celebrate. We've worked with local partners to get donated items to give out in a monthly celebration drawing. One local group got their scrapbookers together and created weekly planners for our clients. We added many of the pathways into the planner so that women could have easy access to the worksheets to use on their own. The photo here is an example of one of our donated reward baskets. Local partners such as Junior League, Seroptimus, churches, and employers have donated reward baskets as well as women's hygiene supplies. Positive reinforcements are so effective, we've applied them to staff as well. We started by tracking staff's use of positive reinforcements with clients and then rewarding staff with things like candy bars, public praise, and healthy competition to keep that positive reinforcement motivation going. One of the funding streams that allowed the state of Oregon to adopt both the WRNA and pathways was through a legislative pilot project designed to reduce prison and foster care usage for justice-involved parents. Jackson County was one of 5 counties in our state selected for the Family Sentencing Alternative Pilot Project, FSAP. 3-year results from FSAP, which included the use of pathways, has reported a 17.2% recidivism reduction. We are early in the pilot, but are noting that it becomes more effective over time. Sampled in these photos are 2 of our successes in the program. The woman on the left was headed for prison and was diverted into FSAP, and the woman on the right was able to attend her brother's police academy graduation after they reunified as part of her success. So going beyond the criminal justice system, in addition to decreasing revocations to prison and reducing recidivism, we've also had success in keeping kiddos out of the foster care system and in the care of their mamas. For our incarcerated parents that were not selected for FSAP, the average length of foster care days was over 1,000. FSAP parents averaged about 674 days. Although still slightly larger than our statewide average, a noticeable decrease from the incarcerated peers. Pathways has played an integral part in helping our women with their coping and parenting skills, allowing them to keep their kiddos in their care. So thank you for attending this portion. If you have any follow-up questions or want to learn more about how to get ideas or how to implement pathways in your community, please contact Ashley at Bauman Consulting Group. And the email's on the slide there. Thank you.